Ellis Emmanuel Innocent Clarke, do swear by Almighty God that I will bear true faith and allegiance to Trinidad and Tobago, and to the best of my ability preserve and defend the Constitution and the law.
After independence, it was thought appropriate to move to being our own, in charge of our own affairs by having the head of state be somebody from the country. So that's how we became a republic.
We were under what you would call the monarchy still. And they felt it was time to sever connections with the monarchy as an independent country and convert it into the state into a republican state.
It was transitory, and he had the experience, the constitutional knowledge, everything, because remember Sir Ellis Clarke was there since the 1962 conference, Independence Conference, and he was there taking us into republicanism.
When we had that move, when we made that move, people were joyous, and people felt, the whole decolonization process needed to be advanced. But with that move, we have had several issues. Each president has had to deal with an issue that is considered major in the country.
There were serious allegations that the then Prime Minister had too much power, and some of that power should be passed on to the ceremonial head of state.
There are many who contend, or rather argue, that the head of state in Trinidad and Tobago is more or less ceremonial, which is, in my opinion, not true.
We have to look at the functions and the roles of the office holder to determine if it's ceremonial. The office holder of the office of the president is the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. How could that be ceremonial? The office holder is the person in whom all executive authority of the Republic of Trinidad and Tobago is vested. How could that be ceremonial? The office holder of the office of the presidency is the person who appoints all the independent senators in that person's sole discretion. But apart from the independent senators, appoints all the other senators too, while it is true on the advice of the Prime Minister for the government senators, on the advice of the leader of the opposition, in respect of the opposition senators. If that functionary is not there and available, then the appointments can be made.
The President of Trinidad and Tobago is the head of state, and all his functions, major functions, are governed by the Constitution. During the tenure of any given president, appointments are made for all the major bodies in the country. The president is not only responsible for the appointment of the Chief Justice, he is according to the Constitution, Parliament comprises the President and the members of Parliament. You've got the Public Service Commission, you've got the Teaching Service Commission, you've got the Police Service Commission, you've got the Statutory Authorities Commission, and you have several other commissions. All of these commissions are put into form and into place by His Excellency, the President, the head of state.
So he was named Ellis Emmanuel Innocent Clarke, the Emmanuel for Christmas, the Innocent because the 28th is the Feast of Holy Innocents. And he grew up in Belmont. He attended primary school in Belmont, won a scholarship to St. Mary's College. In those days, it was very difficult to get into even secondary school.
Our first president, Sir Ellis Clarke, He was a scout at St. Mary's College, and he was our first chief scout, our first local chief scout, I should say, sorry, actually donning on the scout uniform and wearing scout uniform, because, you know, he kept true to his scout promise to be a scout and to act on his scout promise that way. He felt it important to wear the uniform to show that, you know, the contribution of the scout movement in his own personal development, as well as the contribution of the scout movement towards the society.
And from St. Mary's, he won an island scholarship to study law in England. And when he returned to Trinidad, he set up a private practice as a barrister at law. So my father married my mother, Ermintrude, who was born in Grenada. They met in Trinidad. She was visiting a mutual friend, and the mutual friend and his wife introduced them at a party, and they courted for a short period of time. She went back to Grenada. He actually got married in Grenada in 1952. So his legal career progressed to the point where I think in 1954 he became Solicitor General, which was the sort of highest non-political position in the legal affairs ministry. He spent 11 years as ambassador to the United States, and also the dual role as permanent representative of Trinidad and Tobago at the United Nations. He came back to Trinidad in 1973 as Governor General, and served as Governor General until we became a republic in 1976, when he was appointed the first president of the republic.
But one of the things I really remember him most for would be when the first Prime Minister died in office. And after consultations with the members of the PNM hierarchy, George Chambers was named as Prime Minister. Mind you, there were criticisms on the outside that as to whether or not George Chambers should have been the person selected. But I think that at that point in time, Sir Ellis Clarke, even if he was criticized for making that decision, it was not his decision, but rather it was the party's decision.
One thing that probably needs clarification is that when my father appointed George Chambers as the Prime Minister to succeed Eric Williams, it was not based on his personal choice. It wasn't a matter of his personal choice. He had to appoint the person who commanded the support of the majority of the members of the government in Parliament. And that is what the Constitution required, and that is exactly what he did. He loved to dance. At functions, if there was music, he would be one of the first on the dance floor. He enjoyed going to horse racing. We owned a number of horses over the years, and he really enjoyed horse racing. His strengths were not in domestic matters. He was not a cook. He couldn't cook a thing, and he also obviously left the running of the house in terms of this is President's house and also his private home after he retired. Those matters were left to my mother. He wasn't really a television or movie watcher. He used to read a lot. He was very much, as I say, into law, but also into a range of books and topics, particularly religious topics. He would read quite voraciously as well.
President Ellis Clarke has gone down in our history as a most outstanding citizen of Trinidad and Tobago.